What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Marvel Snap video. And today we're doing something a little bit different. Just want to keep on changing it up with the content. So, today we're going to be looking at what I believe to be the top five one cost cards in Marvel Snap. Now, a couple of things here. I just want to note this is completely my opinion. So, you can agree with me, you can disagree. Everyone has their own opinions. This is my personal list. And then secondly, I'm not going to be including some of the new cards like Bast and Titania for a couple of reasons. One, because I actually don't have those because um, I haven't played with them. I'm not going to include them with my list since I haven't really played with them myself. And two, since they're still kind of new cards anyway, I feel like there hasn't really been enough experimenting with them to really include this list anyways. So for those reasons, we're not going to be including any of the newer one cost cards, but we will be including cards from series 1, 2, and 3. So with that being said, let's take a look at my top 5 one cost cards in the game. Now, starting at number 5, we have your boy Ant-Man. Ant-Man, I've mentioned a ton of times, one of my favorite cards in the game and one of my favorite Marvel superheroes. He has an ongoing ability if you have 3 other cards here plus 3 power. So just very good value for the cost. He fits very nicely into zoo decks or ongoing decks or any kind of decks that typically just like to swarm the board. So he can consistently be 4 power for 1 energy, which is really good. Now, the downside to Ant-Man is since he's a 1 cost, he's susceptible to Killmonger. And technically, I'm going to be talking about only 1 cost cards, so they're all kind of susceptible to Killmonger. But that's why if you play Ant-Man, usually want to play an armor down on him if possible. That way you can protect him from Killmonger or Elektra, which you don't see that often. But yeah, getting killed by Killmonger does feel pretty bad, but 4 power for just 1 energy is such good value. I love Ant-Man, just a really good, consistent 1-drop card. Next up at number 4, we have Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler has a ability where you can move this card once. So a very flexible card. A Nightcrawler is a card that can fit into any deck really. He's 1 energy for 2 power, and just being able to move him once during the game is really nice because he can fit into those unfavorable locations like Death's Domain, like Sanctum Sanctorum, or someone plays Storm and floods a lane. Nightcrawler can still go ahead and slot into that lane. So a really good flexible 1 cost card that can fit in any deck, and he synergizes well with Angela as well. You play Angela in a lane, you play Nightcrawler on top of Angela in that lane, it'll buff up Angela. Then you can move Nightcrawler somewhere else and keep on buffing Angela another time. So Nightcrawler is a really, really good card. I think I put him above Ant-Man here because he's just a little bit more flexible. Ant-Man is flexible as well, but you typically want to play him in like Zoo style or ongoing type of list. Nightcrawler, you can really throw him in any list to be honest, and he will be uh, just fine. So that is it for Nightcrawler. Coming in at number 3, we have the Hood. The Hood is 1 energy and -2 power. On reveal, add a demon to your hand, and the demon is 1 energy for 6 power. So technically, if you add up the -2 and the 6, the Hood plays for 4 power, which is on par with Ant-Man. But the thing that makes the Hood really stand out is that the -2, there's a lot of ways that you can really just get rid of that -2 power. You can throw the Hood onto Death's Domain and just kill him. You can throw him onto the new featured location, Vormir, Vormir, right? Vormir. I keep getting confused with the the Witcher character. But anyways, you can throw him in there and just kill him. You can also eat him with Carnage. You can destroy him with Deathlock. You can give him to your opponent with Viper. So there's really a lot of ways to just kind of negate that -2, and it really just ends up becoming a 6 power with the demon. So the Hood is a very good card that can fit in. I don't think he's as flexible as like let's say Nightcrawler, but he can definitely still fit in a lot of different decks, and he fits very nicely in the destroy archetype, which is arguably the strongest archetype in the game. So that's why I have the Hood at number 3 here, a very strong one cost card. Now, coming in at number 2, we have Sunspot. At the end of each turn, gain +1 power for each unspent energy. So, Sunspot really has no limit to how much he can grow. He starts off at 1 energy, 1 power, but he can get pretty big if you're skipping a lot of your turns, which sometimes you want to do because he synergizes well with cards like Infinite as well as the new card She Hulk. Um, with the release of She-Hulk, it was kind of an indirect buff to Sunspot. And what I mean by that is that Sunspot sees more play now in She-Hulk decks. He didn't get buffed directly or anything like that. I think Sunspot is a really good, well-designed, balanced card. Like 1 energy, 1 power, but he can just keep on growing. I think that's a really fair, nice card. Again, you run the risk of letting him get too tall and he gets killed by Killmonger. But again, that's why you usually want to run armor with your Sunspot. So, Sunspot is a very nice card that you can, again, slot in just about any deck, really, but he does fit very nicely with She Hulk and Infinite. So, Sunspot is just a really solid one cost card. Now, before we move on to the number one cost card, I'm going to throw in an honorable mention here, and that's Zero. Zero is 1 energy for 3 power, has an on reveal ability. Remove the abilities on the next card you play. So, Zero is a very niche card. He's not something you can just kind of throw into any deck like a Nightcrawler or Sunspot. You really have to kind of build your deck around him, but that's why I love him. He makes these cards that seem kind of useless at first, like Typhoid Mary or Red Skull, and just makes them better. He's kind of similar to Patriot in a way, where he really kind of creates his own unique archetype in Marvel Snap. So that's why I really love playing Zero decks. And 3 power is just solid for a 1 cost card as well. So a very niche card, which is why he's not in the top 5, but a very fun card to play with and unlocks a whole new archetype. The thing is, you kind of just need other cards to really make him work. Like I said, there's Red Skull, Typhoid Mary, Atuma, things like that. So a very fun card to play with. And now we got our number one cost card in Marvel Snap, and that is Iceman. Iceman's 1 energy, 2 power. On reveal, give a random card in your opponent's hand plus 1 cost, or a maximum of 6 energy. Iceman is just an insanely good card for 1 energy. It can mess up your enemy's whole energy curve, it could mess up their entire game plan. Um, Getting hit by Iceman is one of the worst feelings in the game, especially when it's like the card you were about to play, and then you're like, well, now I can't play anything this turn, so I have to skip my turn, wait till the next turn to play something, and that just feels really bad. I've even seen some people argue that he should be 1 power instead of 2. I can maybe see that. I'm kind of on the fence. Like, a 1 power reduction doesn't seem like a big nerf, but it kind of is, to be honest. Like, that 1 power may not seem like a lot, but sometimes it could be the difference in whether you win or lose a game. But Iceman is just such a good card. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily be upset if they do nerf him to 1 power. I think it would be fine, but I don't really. I don't know. It's a tough one. I'm kind of fine with where he's at now, too, to be honest, because it is random and you don't see what you hit in your opponent's hand, right? So that makes it a little bit tricky as well. So when you play Iceman, you might not see the effect or the value he has right away. But when someone hits you with an Iceman, it really hurts. It really hurts. So yeah, Iceman is a very, very good card, especially when he hits a 5 cost card, maybe like something like Professor X or Arrow, because essentially that makes that 5 cost card now cost 6 energy. So now they're like, well, I guess I'm not playing this card anymore, and that just really sucks for your opponent. So Iceman is a very flexible 1 cost card. You can slot him into any deck, honestly. If there's a deck I'm building and I feel like I need a 1 cost card in my deck, Iceman is usually just my go-to. Korg is also good as well. I didn't include him in this list, even though I really love Korg, and Korg might actually get kind of better in these Darkhawk decks. But I feel like Iceman is just really just a better Korg because the thing with Korg is sometimes your opponent might not even draw the rock that Korg puts in their deck. So Korg is essentially just kind of like Quicksilver, right? A 1 energy, 2 cost card, or 1 energy, 2 power card, where Iceman has immediate value, where he's going to hit something in your opponent's hand. Now, the only time Iceman won't hit something in your opponent's hand is when their entire hand is comprised of 6 cost cards, and you'll see a little notification on the screen that says no target. But at least the upside to that is that gives you a little bit of information that tells you, okay, so my opponent only has 6 cost cards in their hand right now. So I kind of like that as well from Iceman. So either way, you're going to get some value out of him, and it's going to be instant value. Unlike Korg, your opponent may or may not even draw the rock that game. So Korg is still good, but unfortunately did not make my top 5, even though I really love him. Iceman is just so good, man. So good. He's really just my default, like 1 cost card to go to. I think I've split him maybe like 3 times already. But anyways, that was my top 5 list. Let me know what you thought about my top 5. Do you agree with them? Do you disagree with them? Let me know in the comments down below if there's one card you think that should be in this list. And I will see you all in the next video. Thank you for watching. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.